All right, so next up we got the hinge. This is definitely one of the most commonly butchered movements for me, and I mean really since I've started doing this, I've just always noticed people have had a lot of trouble getting these hinge mechanics right. I think the biggest issue with it is we have a tough time differentiating between a hinge action and a squat pattern. So a really simple way to kind of look at the two is with a hinge, the height of the hips does not change. As I descend down into that bottom part of the movement here, my hip height is still the exact same as it was when I started. Whereas when I squat, my hip height starts here, it displaces down, and then returns back up. So when we're doing a hinge pattern, we got to make sure first and foremost that we're not getting that like squatting kind of half and half movement, right? So I like to think about it as having a steel rod going through the center of the hip joint, and all we're going to do is pivot around that rod. There are a lot of different ways that we can cue the hinge. I've used long legs, long hamstrings, turn your pelvis up and back, but frankly, the most effective one that I've found has been shit on the wall. So what we want to think with that is, as we're getting into that bottom range of the hinge here, we actually want to try to turn the pelvis up and back as if we were going to shit on the wall behind us. So I guess if you work with kids, the PG-13 version of that being poop or crap on the wall, but case in point, we want to get the hips up and behind us so that we get eccentric lengthening in the hamstring while maintaining that rigid torso. So as I'm going down into my hinge here, I'm going to go from, again, that hip width, athletic position, feet straight ahead, pull the shoulders down and back, and then kind of pull myself down while turning my hips up and away. Once we feel that stretch in the hamstrings, we've gone far enough. We do not need to go past here. Another caveat to this is if we round in the upper back, the distance kind of becomes negligible. I feel absolutely nothing in my hamstrings here doing this, but if I pull my shoulders down and back, right about here is my locking point, okay? So with the hinge, make sure we're not making it a distance-oriented thing where we're trying to get down to a certain bottom point. Let the athlete kind of determine the end range here. Once we feel that tension in the hamstrings, that full lengthening of the hamstrings, we've gone far enough, tighten up, change direction, and then work to build on your range of motion from there.